Hi, I'm Daniel Butler. Welcome to another edition of America's Dumbest Criminals.
On this episode of America's Dumbest Criminals, a dumb driver hands over more than his license.
That's mine. Give me that back.
A pair of newlyweds get a gift they won't forget. A couple of rookie robbers make a bad first impression.
Freeze! This is a bank robbery.
No, it isn't.
Thank you, come again. And officers discover that catching two dumb criminals is better than one. All this and more on this week's episode of America's Dumbest Criminals. Here's your host, Daniel Butler.
Here's a crook that took the saying, "Go jump in the lake," literally. A car thief in Los Angeles decided that the best way to hide from the police would be to run from his stolen car and hide in a nearby lake, just bobbing around with only his empty head to use as a flotation device. Well, I guess he didn't take into consideration that a lake is surrounded by land, which is surrounded by police, which is being illuminated by a helicopter that is over the land, which holds the police who surround the water that contains the man. I know an old lady who swallowed a fly. Well, you get the picture. This Houston Police Department sergeant was stunned one night at the illogical mind of a dumb criminal. The officer was pursuing a drug dealer in a high-speed chase when the doper finally gave up near a strip mall parking lot.
He's driving like a maniac. He's gonna kill somebody. He's gonna lose it.
Control, we're gonna be code 6. Okay, you can show code 4 on narco suspect.
As another officer was cuffing the suspect, everyone heard the loud crash of shattering glass nearby. That's when the officer noticed a man running out of a clothing store with an armful of clothes.
Rear market of 211 suspect. Give me your hand. Give me your hand. There you go. Give me the other hand. Why are you running? Huh?
Man,
why are you running? Did you hear the sirens?
Siren.
The man was caught red-handed, and when questioned by the police as to why he would commit a crime in the middle of a bust, the crook replied, "I thought you'd be too busy with that other guy to notice me." He doesn't need to worry about that with us. We always make time for another dumb criminal. When an officer pulls over a dumb criminal in traffic, whatever the officer initially noticed is usually just the tip of the iceberg, as the next story proves. Deputy Gary Worley noticed a car speeding, but he got much more than he ever expected.
So we're out on the East Freeway, where we like to spend most of our time, and this little red Mitsubishi 240 blows by us. I mean, just down the service road. No front plate, seatbelt. We stop the car, I walk up, roll the window down. "Whoa, bud, Mexican forest fire burning his car. Girl, come on out." Yeah, whoo. Get her out, and it's like a rolling advertisement for Weed Is Us. And where the girl was sitting was a little 4x6 tin, little metal box with a removable lid. I pick it up, shake it. Yeah, I know what this is, seeds and stems. Open it up, and there's seeds, stems, and a little bit of marijuana and some papers. Well, the male that Charlie is talking to breaks down and he's crying on the side of the freeway. He's crying, tears, just like they turned the faucet off. And Charlie asked him, "Man, you want to talk to my partner?" "Yeah, I want to talk to your partner. Please help. Oh, God." So I walk back, and I'm holding this tin of marijuana. That's all I've got, just the tin. I said, "Yeah, bud, what's wrong?" "Oh, all the dope's mine, man. She didn't know anything about it." "This? It's all mine, man. She didn't know anything about it." I said, "Look, what, this?" He looks at me and goes, "No, stupid, the 3 pounds under the back seat."
Imagine that you've just escaped from prison and you're on the highway all alone and need to get in touch with a friend. And there it is, a payphone. Help at last. Now, if you could just remember that phone number. Our confused con spotted a phone but couldn't remember his friend's number, so he tried to call information. However, he mistakenly dialed 911 instead of 411. After he hung up, the police were sent to check the 911 interruption and found our frantic felon in his prison clothes, still waiting by the phone for a friend.
Oh, this, I got it at the flea market.
Oh, yeah? Looks kind of familiar to me.
Oh, look at that. Looks like old McDonald ran away from the farm. No, really, man.
Turn around, put your hands on the back of your head.
The officers were kind enough to give our surprised suspect a ride back to his cell. It's what friends are for. It's always so difficult to decide on what to give as a wedding gift to a newlywed couple. A toaster, towels, bail money? A young couple had come down to the courthouse to get married one afternoon. They had the normal wedding day nerves, especially the groom. You see, an officer at the courthouse recognized the husband-to-be on the security monitor as someone who had a warrant out for numerous unpaid fines. So, after the blessed union took place, the officer showed up to congratulate the man and gave him a stunning pair of silver bracelets to wear. The gift that really says, you're under arrest.
You, step away from the remote now.
I'm Daniel Butler, and this is the eloquent and effervescent Beaumont Bacon.
Well, hello, Daniel. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
This first story, I'm telling you, it is a hoot. In Pearson, Florida, a guy cased out the lobby of what he thought was a bank. However, when he finally got up the nerve to hand the clerk his hold-up note, she looked at him and said, this is City Hall, sir. We have no money here. See for yourself, nothing in the drawer.
Well, then give me all your parking permits or something.
Something. He immediately ran out of the building, not noticing that the bank he meant to rob was actually on the other side of the same hallway. It's only a few feet away. He was right here.
Well, this guy didn't have that problem. He tried to rob the same bank twice,
Ouch.
wearing the same clothes that he had worn for the previous attempt, as well as for a couple of other banks in the area. He never wore a mask, just the same striped shirt, the same baseball cap, and the same pants.
Same look on his face every time.
Probably.
Maybe it was his lucky little hold-up, get-up,
Well, yeah.
hootenanny outfit.
Needless to say, the teller recognized him and alerted police, who quickly picked him up on his way to another bank up the street.
Creature of habit.
I guess.
Which brings us to the
Idiot of the week.
Our favorite story from the week out of all the stories we received so far, here it is. A prisoner at the government city jail in Dallas decided that he had come up with the perfect plan to get out of jail.
Not commit any more crimes?
No, hardly. He managed to get a hold of some civilian clothes, and on Visitors' Day, he quickly changed and tried to blend in with the other visitors as they were leaving. However, when he got to the locked guard gate, he yelled out the word that he heard officers do to request access.
The guard quickly recognized that the con was trying to con him and immediately escorted the guy back to his cell.
Hey, I bet he knew the proper password for that door, huh?
Yeah. Duh.
If you're a dumb criminal and you think that someone has just sold you some bad drugs, what do? A, find your dealer and ask for a refund. B, write it off as a loss and forget about it. Or C, call the police and file a complaint. We don't call them dumb for nothing. Seems our blonde bombshell felt like she had been sold some bad cocaine rocks for $50 and she wanted the cops to verify it for her. When they arrived, she showed them the drugs and said that they tasted like baking soda. Well, when the officers tested the drug, he found out that it was, in fact, real, and arrested the perplexed pinhead for possession of cocaine. Now she's letting her fingers do the walking behind bars. If our show gave out awards for stupidity, this guy would win Dumbest Plan of the Year. Now, it's idiotic enough to try and steal a car from an officer, but to do it in the parking lot of the sheriff's station, in broad daylight? A shift sergeant was getting out of her car at the sheriff's station in Glendale, Arizona, when she was surprised by a man who wanted something, her car. She assumed that he was joking and said, "So do I." Then he said, "No, I'm taking your car." And that's when she detained the kook and escorted him off the property. However, the dullard ran back in and headed for her car again, but instead ran into the open arms of another officer who had run out to assist. They soon found out that this guy had just been released from jail 20 minutes earlier for criminal trespassing. I guess he just missed the food.
Coming up on America's Dumbest Criminal. A dumb driver hands over more than his license.
That's mine. Give me that back.
A man forgets to look before he leaps. A customer takes advantage of a 5-finger discount. A couple of rookie robbers make a bad first impression.
Freeze! This is a bank robbery.
No, it isn't.
Thank you. Come again. The laughs just keep coming on America's Dumbest Criminals.
You have the right to remain seated.
This next dimwit was pulled over for not having his headlights on, and then proceeded to shed some light on the culprit in 5 major crimes. Himself. In Amherst, New York, a guy was stopped for a headlight infraction and fully complied with the lieutenant, handing him his license, his registration, and a little something extra.
Sir, what is this? What?
That's mine. Give me that back.
I'll hold on to this.
The loser had mistakenly turned over the actual holdup note he and a partner had used in robbing 4 banks and 1 restaurant. The Greenpeace goon saved a tree by not burning his notes after each robbery and managed to plant himself and his partner into the County Criminal Preservation Society for a good long time. If you thought the Keystone Cops traded in their nightsticks for the ultimate in slapstick, wait till you see the real-life mishaps of this pair of Canadian crooks. Planning on pulling a small bank job, the duo had become a well-oiled machine. Every movement was synchronized, and once their plan was in motion, nothing could stop their madcap momentum.
Freeze! This is a bank robbery.
No, it isn't.
What?
This is a sewing center. If you were 2 doors down, that would be a bank robbery.
And if she hadn't made a little phone call, they might have gotten away with it.
The police brought an abrupt end to the comedic caper with a little slapstick of their own, slapping the cuffs on the clumsy clowns and sticking them in jail. We've done a lot of prison breakout stories, but I think it's time for a prison break-in story. Officers in Louisiana were involved in a 90-mile-per-hour car chase. After a series of running red lights, right turns, left turns, they finally took a wrong turn down a dead-end street. But the officers didn't have to finish their chase because the deranged driver and his slippery sidekick sped to the end of the street and crashed right through the front gates of the East Baton Rouge Parish Prison. Needless to say, their driving privileges were revoked and their personal space was greatly reduced for many years to come. Getting a positive ID is one of the hardest things to establish after a crime, but sometimes you get help from some very unexpected sources. A Las Vegas police officer was investigating a burglary and brought the victim to identify the 2 young men caught running from the scene. It didn't look good for a moment when the lady said she didn't think they were the ones. But that's when the officer decided to turn the tables and ask the suspect.
Hey guys, is this the lady that you saw out there earlier?
Yeah, that's the one that was in the window.
Yeah, I think that is him.
Okay.
See, if everyone would just work together like these 2, the world would certainly be a much happier place to live. Don't you think?
Go back to the couch and assume the position.
Officers had tracked down a guy who had a warrant out for failing to appear in court. They tracked him to his girlfriend's house, where he was allegedly staying.
Yes?
Hello, ma'am. We're looking for your boyfriend.
I haven't seen him for a few
They
days.
talked to her for a few minutes, and she said that he wasn't there and that she had no idea where he was. So they left, sort of. They outwitted the girlfriend by calling under a fake name and asking for the suspect. When she said she'd get him, they returned to the house. But when they conducted their search, they still came up empty until they heard a noise upstairs. They went into a bedroom and noticed a pair of hands clutching the windowsill from the outside.
Looks like we got somebody hanging around.
The suspect panicked and let go, falling 2 stories down to the ground below. The man broke both ankles and was arrested. And by the way, there is no truth to the rumor that he now works as an air traffic controller, clearing people for landings. Being able to run fast and jump high are great attributes, but they rarely make up for a lack of brains, as this crook soon discovered. The chase started after a theft at a convenience store near Andrews Air Force Base. Trying to escape the police, the thief abandoned his car and jumped over the fence and into the base, where he managed to elude helicopters and motor patrols. But it was all for nothing, because in his hurry, he had left his stash and wallet inside the car.
Hey, officer, what's going on?
Recognize the picture on his driver's license? You left it in the car you stole, you dummy.
Put your hands behind you.
When the good Lord was handing out brains, this guy must have thought he said canes and said that he could walk fine without one, thanks. On this next real surveillance tape, you see our guy casually looking around at a variety of electronics. He seems to be searching for a particular style of typewriter as he goes from one to another. Then he turns and decides to simply pick up 2 boxed typewriters and move them out of his way, and right out of the store. As he casually walks towards the exit, security quickly catches up with him and insists on helping him with his heavy load. Maybe he should have insisted on carrying them himself. You know, dumb criminals weren't born this way. They've had to work years to lose enough brain cells to fully qualify as one of America's dumbest criminals. We'll see you next week.
I got my other finger. That's not mine. That's not mine.
On the next America's Dumbest Criminals, a soggy suspect leaves a trickling trail for the cops. A shifty shopper checks out with more than his receipt. A casual crook makes a fashion faux pas. A man shoots mental blanks.
What the were you thinking?
The laughs just keep coming on the next episode of America's Dumbest Criminals.
Charlie and I stopped a car on the East Freeway. No seat belt, and I think it was defective equipment brake lights. And we get the driver out. He gives us his driver's license. We get him out. He comes back wanted, open warrants. So the passenger gives us a name. We check the name. He comes back wanted. Cuff him, put him in the car, and this guy's in tears. Tears are flowing down out of his eyes, down his cheeks. That's not my real name. We put him on the machine. He comes back with an open warrant for delivery or possession. He gave us a fake name. The fake name he gave us was wanted. Yeah, totally made up. It was a fake name, and he was wanted.
Just pulled it out of the air.
Pulled out of the air, and he's wanted. Taking an OD call in an alleyway off of Beltway 8 in Wood Forest in a strip center. And we took the call off of the regular patrol car. And as we roll up, put it in park, here's this guy laid out in the alleyway. His arm is tied off, the syringe is still stuck in his arm. I nudge him, wake him gently, and I go, "What the hell is this?" He looks at me. "That ain't my rig, dude, and this ain't my arm."